afternoon. Do I have sound? I don't have sound. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello. I hear. With white gloves. Good afternoon. Now we're late. Good afternoon.
Testing 1 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 1 2 2 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. Could I ask you to please take your seats? We'll get started shortly. Thank you. Lauren, go back there and come down. Perfect to me. Hey, Carrie. Please take your seats, everyone. We'll get started. Thank you. Huh? Windows open so we see the sunshine. I know. What did you say? All right, 10, 9, 8, 7. Take your seat. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2018 Alumni Awards ceremony for Illinois Institute of Technology. Yay! Thank you all for bringing sunshine to our campus and our day, and I think that is a great reflection of the joy and vitality in the room today. My name is Betsy Hughes, and I'm the Vice President of Institutional Advancement, and I am very proud to be back as your MC for this event, always my favorite of the year. So first and foremost, we're going to read off the names of each winner, and we expect loud, raucous applause. So feel free to jump in as I read these names. The family of Robert Bragg. We know that IT alums are competitive, so feel free to get into this. Rebecca Bookmeyer. Charles Carter. Yay. Jamie Cowie. Mark Haraberta. The family of Vice Admiral Diego Hernandez. Just keep clapping. I can yell loud. Michael Hill. Mayank Kashyap. Yay. Joel Krause. Mike McCullough. Victor Morgenstern. Victor Sau. And Nestor Zalusek. Oh, what a fabulous group. Thank you all for being here. I'm also really happy to thank all you cheerers for being here. So you're the family members and the friends of our honorees who've come to make this day so memorable for them. Thank you. So we also, this is an amazing tradition at your alma mater, and you'll see some of these names here. But we have a lot of the past winners who have received an award before who are here today. And I know you're shy and modest and all that stuff, but I really want you to stand up and let us recognize those of you who've received an award in the past. Come on your feet. Come on. Keep coming, keep coming. Drew Haskell's pulling his buddy up next to him. That's great. Thank you. And you know, sometimes it seems like greatness follows our winners. Pointing Ed Kaplan to his seat, sorry. Sometimes it seems like greatness follows our winners. Our alumni do extraordinary things, so we recognize them with an award, but then they keep going, and it gets better and better. And sometimes you'll actually see us give people a second award. And Jason Resch, who won the 2015, just a minute ago, Outstanding Young Alumnus Award, is an example of that. Jason is a software architect who has been named to Crane's Tech 50 and has long been known as Chicago's leading innovator. And just last week, he let us know that as of April 12th, just 12 years after he finished his undergrad degree, he is the holder of 1,084 patents. That includes issued patents and pending U.S. utility patents. But are you ready for this? That is the same number of utility patents that Thomas Edison received in his entire lifetime. Jason, stand up and let us recognize you. Where are you hiding? Jason, where's Jason? Oh, stand up. Don't be shy. Come on. So in other words, we can't wait to see what happens next, right? Just another fabulous, thank you. We love hearing from our past winners to see what they're up to today. And between the past recipients and today's honorees, we are surely surrounded by greatness. I am very pleased to introduce you to our president, Alan Cram, and his wife, Anna, who are here today. Thank you. And to our provost, Russell Betts. There are many members of the administration here, the deans, the vice provosts, vice presidents. Thank you all, and recognize them for being here. Thank you. I hope you had a chance to take a look at iPro Day today. We scheduled this event intentionally so that you can wander around and see some of these wonderful student projects. This is our interprofessional projects where students work in teams, and I hope you got a chance to see them. And speaking of our creative, brilliant, amazing students, many of them are here with us today. Could we ask our students to stand? Let us recognize them. No modesty here. Thank you very much. So please begin your salads if you would while we, let me tell you a little about how our day will unfold together. In a moment, you're going to hear from an Alumni Association Board of Directors member, and then our president, Alan Cram, will give a university update. And then we will present our only award that is given to an individual who is not an alumnus, and that's the Galvin Award, before we take a break to enjoy our lunch. After lunch, we will present the awards to all of our alumni winners. But first, we will hear from a great alumni leader who has helped make this event possible. The Alumni Awards Committee of the Alumni Association Board of Directors chooses the award recipients, and we appreciate their hard work and leadership. And I especially want to thank the committee chair, Dawn Schutte. Dawn is a partner at Threshold Acoustics, where she enhances the acoustics in performance spaces and other places of public assembly. She got her bachelor's degree in architecture and city and regional planning in '92 and her master's in '93, all from our College of Architecture. Who says there's no romance at IIT? Her husband, Stephen, is also a grad, class of '92, electrical engineering. Dawn, come say a few words.
Thank you, Betsy. You know, every time we talk about acoustics here, I always think, I've got to help a little bit. Someday, that's the next project we do. So, but thank you and welcome everyone to being here on campus. And I wish we could see more sunshine, but it was really nice that the sun cooperated so well for us today. It's a great day to celebrate our 2018 Alumni Award winners. I am here actually representing a pretty large group of people that put all this together. They dedicate a lot of time to getting to where we are today. Isn't it amazing to realize, I think I was amazed to realize that this is the 70th awards presentation this year, which is fantastic that it's been going on that long. So I hope that you really are inspired today. I know you will be in the next couple of hours, inspired, awed, and hopefully excited about what you hear in the stories of our winners today. So looking at the banners around the room always kind of gives me a little bit of a pause. You know, you look at what's happened in the kind of recent years, the award winners from this year, and the stories that you'll hear will be ones that I think everyone can be touched by. Our award winners that we're honoring today, they've walked these grounds. They've been on the campus all the way from a point in the 40s to as little as 8 years ago. And that's quite a span, and I think almost everyone that's here as an alumni, as an alumnus, an alumna, can relate to the stories that they hear, whether we're thinking about our own time when we were on campus, or thinking of some of our colleagues and friends, some of those alumni, or even professors who have touched our lives over time. But for the students here, hopefully, one of the things that I really hope that you can take away from this has been something that has touched me deeply being a part of this committee, is that you can take the inspiration and hopefully see yourselves in their shoes. Because I am sure that for your students that are here, some of you will be honored not too long from now. And we look forward to having you as a part of the group. I do also want to thank, it was great that Betsy was able to thank the past winners for being present with us, but I want to thank the committee members that have served with me on the awards committee. There are about, I believe, 5 here. Please stand. I just want to recognize you, Scott and Brian, Jason, Mark, Hamid. Thank you for being here. They represent about half of the group that's on the committee, and it's a really diverse committee that I'm really appreciative as the chair of the committee to have, because it is in their diverse backgrounds, their thoughtful review of the information, that it makes it easier for all of us to distill the information and come to the very hard decision every year making the final selections. I do have to say, all of the nominees that we receive are so worthy of recognition. And they had just done so much in either a short time or in their lifetime away from the institution. But really, in the end, after many conversations, it was really in the accomplishments, kind of tenacious character, the global and local achievements of our winners that singled them out today. And you'll hear their stories. As I also wanted to thank, in addition to the committee, all of the staff here that do so much work. I really have to tell you, you have no idea, I don't think I have an idea of how many hours that Kelly Fields back there, please say hi, how many hours that she puts into the efforts. She helps to get the nominations. She organizes information for our committee, and then she does a ton of work after the selection to help make sure that all of you are here as winners, and that hopefully she's really a huge part of hopefully you feeling very honored and special today. In addition to Kelly, of course, we have the leadership that Jamie Acton provides and our fearless leader, Betsy, and so many others I can't name, but please thank them. Please say thank you. All right, just one other thing I'm going to say as the awards chair. I actually would like to ask all of you here and those watching remotely, hello, to please think of alumni, think of your classmates, think of colleagues, think of those alumni you know who should be honored for awards. Because really, we can't honor people unless we know about them. And we would love to have your help or spread the word with friends and colleagues that you know. We want to know who should be honored next year. So please think about that or spread the word. We really would appreciate the help. So now, I don't have a glass to raise, but let's raise a ceremonial glass to please join me in saying congratulations to all of the winners here today, past and present. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Don. And now we have a chance to hear from our president, Alan Cram. Many of you have had a chance to get to know Alan, but for our visitors, I'm going to give you the speed version of his bio. Alan earned his BS in metallurgy from Strathclyde University in Glasgow, PhD material science from the University of Pennsylvania. He then spent a number of years working in and managing research in the steel industry before jumping to higher ed, where in 1986 he joined the faculty at Carnegie Mellon. And in 2005, he was appointed Dean of Engineering at Rensselaer Polytech. Alan came to Illinois Tech as our provost and senior vice president of academic affairs, a position that he held for 7 years before being named our president, our 9th president, in 2015. That same year, he was inducted into the prestigious National Academy of Engineering for his contributions to the development of high-integrity, continuously cast steels. And in 2016, he was made a fellow of the National Academy of Innovators. As president, Alan has made it his priority to connect with alumni around the world, and his vision, enthusiasm, and experience make him just simply the right man for the job. Please welcome Alan Cram.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here when it's not snowing. I think someone told me that officially we made a record for Chicago, coldest April ever. But the great thing in my job is I get to go around the country and actually around the world and meet our alumni. And what a group of alumni we have. And it's one of the real pleasures of my life to sit and listen to the amazing accomplishments of all of our alumni in many different areas and how they all look back on their time here at Illinois Institute of Technology as foundational, as the reason that they were able to be successful because of what they learned here and the friends they made here and how they became adults here. And I think as you see these Alumni Award winners today, you're only seeing a small portion of the amazing accomplishments of many of our alumni in many different fields. It's also something that surprises me is the variety of things that our alumni do. It doesn't matter what the major they started in, is they follow their heart's desire and move into completely different areas all the time and are successful. I think if you're here today and you look around our campus, I want to just update you on one thing, and that is I know a number of you got to see the new building that's being constructed, our Kaplan Family Innovation Center. It's really focused on entrepreneurship, especially tech entrepreneurship. And I'd like to state that Ed Kaplan and his family are here. So Ed, if you would just stand to be recognized. The fact that Ed and his wife were the group that really decided that this dream we have for the university, that we should be known for creativity that leads to meaningful innovation and leads to entrepreneurial endeavors and eventually to enterprise, should be a real focus of the university. And I remember meeting with Ed and Vic and Joel Krause, who are here many times on a Monday afternoon, and really laying out what the plan was to try to transform the university in this world of embracing our undergraduate body, embracing our graduate body, and making sure they understood what entrepreneurial endeavor was, they understood what innovation was, and that we would value the creativity innate in our students, and we would allow them to practice creativity in an amazing world-leading center. And out of those discussions, I remember when Ed says to us, well, I'll give the foundational gift so that this can happen. And now we can look along here, along Footlick Lane, and see a building that in October will be fully open, and a building that really is the future for this university. And I'm pleased to say that we've had the pleasure and luck to hire the best initial director of this centre we could ever have, and that's Howard Tallman. Howard, would you stand? You know, Howard's pedigree in entrepreneurial endeavours is unmatched by anyone, and we were just so fortunate for him to come and join us in this mission that we have to transform the university and transform our student bodies going forward. I think that this time the award we always give is the Galvin Award, and for all of us who know anything about the university, we know that Bob Galvin and Bob Pritzker saved this university in a very tough time. We can focus on the enormous gift that they made. It was the largest to any university at that time. But actually, more than that, especially the two Bobs brought a vision of the future for the university. And the reason we're successful is because that vision has come to fruition. Part of the vision was to remain what we've always been, a university that would be here for students from Chicago, who are excellent, but from modest backgrounds, and we would make it possible for them to go to a great university and have a great career. And I'm really proud that that vision started in the 1890s and reaffirmed through the years has led to us being named as one of the top universities in this country for ensuring that people from modest backgrounds who are excellent students can become professionals. And it's something to be proud of, to have the data to show that we have transitioned more students than any other university in Illinois, and we're in the top 30 in this country in this very vital part of the mission of this university that started with the $1 Million Sermon and Frank Gonzalez becoming our first president. But beyond that, we've become much more. We're a great research university, we're a great graduate university now, but we've never gone away from our roots. And as I look back and I see that Bob Galvin actually led the group that studied this university and at one time asked the question, is the mission complete? And the answer was, no, it's not. And the answer was, we should go ahead and learn how to be successful. And we're here today in honor of Bob Galvin. I'm pleased to say we have 3 members of the Galvin family here. We have Mary, his wife, Dawn, and Michael. And thank you for coming. And because Bob was not our graduate but believed in our university so much and spent so much of his time here and his efforts and his thoughts, we named the Galvin Award to really show that we should recognize people who help the university who are not necessarily alumni but have done amazing things to really make the university become better. And I'm going to ask Michael Galvin to come and discuss the winner this year. Michael?
Mom, Dawn, fellow colleagues here at Illinois Tech, thank you, Alan. I'm humbled to represent our family in bestowing this award, which obviously commands a very, very special place in our hearts. It's given to that individual that never attended Illinois Tech, but who were inspired, like my father, to embrace and serve in furtherance of Illinois Tech's worthy mission. The Galvin Award was established in 2010 in honor of my dad, Bob Galvin, who led Motorola as chair and CEO for 30 years, also led Illinois Tech and its board chairman for 15 years, and further served as a university regent. Bob chaired the National Commission for IIT and helped chart the course that the university is on today. His extraordinary volunteerism and philanthropy transformed this institution. He did all this despite the fact that Illinois Tech was not his alma mater. While Dad had many opportunities to join and serve other very worthy universities that were, well, more established, he chose to dedicate his service to this university, Illinois Tech, for more than 50 years because it was a place where he felt that he could truly make the biggest difference in transforming lives. And that holds true for this year's Galvin Award winner as well. Jamie Cowie, like my father, is a master of achieving any goal he sets his mind to. Focus and persistence are the words that come to mind when you work with Jamie. To get Jamie is to understand how he grew up. When Jamie was young, his mother sent him to typing classes one summer just to get him out of her hair. It was not something that Jamie was particularly interested or thrilled to do, but those skills seemed to come in full circle when he was 22 years old, fresh out of college, no experience, determined to work on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. He showed up in D.C. with a stack of resumes under his arm and lots of interviews and no shortage of determination, but after months of interviewing, no one was willing to take a chance on this inexperienced kid. So he decided he needed some help. He went to an employment agency, and the employment agency said, well, what do you know how to do? Well, having exhausted all those answers to all those questions in the interviews, he said, well, what do I know how to do? I know how to type. He said, I got a job for you. So Jamie got a job, not at Capitol Hill, but with a lobbyist, but not to be, stopped, as is his character. Parlaying on that start, Jamie understood that there was an individual back in his home state of Minnesota who was going to run for the Senate. And he called up the campaign manager, introduced himself, and said, I want to come to work for you. And when they told him they had no money to pay him, Jamie said, that's no problem. He'd volunteer. And then when the campaign manager asked, well, what do you know how to do? He said, I can type. He said, I'll see you on Monday. So Jamie packed up his bags from Washington, headed back to Minnesota, hitched his wagon to a successful Senate candidate. He became the campaign's anointed director of research, wrote all the public policy position papers, and when they won, he actually became and realized his dream as a paid legislative assistant for Senator Rudy Boswich in an office on Capitol Hill, as was his earlier goal years before. I tell you that story because it's classic Jamie. If there's an obstacle in his way, he found a way with persistence and with his signature heat-seeking grace and style. As I said earlier, he's a master of achieving any goal he sets his mind to, and later in life, when his goals change from policy and politics to business, no problem keeping up. Jamie served as the managing director of the private equity firm Frontenac Ventures from '88 until he retired in 2015, getting an F in retirement, I might add. Not ready to fully retire, Jamie then became executive chairman of Collegius Education, a technology-enabled solutions provider serving colleges and universities, where he's now president and CEO. Somehow, Jamie, with all of this that's going on in his life, his wonderful family, Kathleen and other members of the family that are here with him, finds time, makes time, scarce free time for Illinois Tech. Jamie served as chair of the College of Science Board of Advisors for more than a decade. He's now co-chair of the Advancement Committee of the Board of Trustees and an active and important member of the Board of Trustees Executive Committee. Jamie contributed to the successful completion of our $250 million Fueling Innovation campaign and was co-founder of last year's highly successful inaugural TechX Award event, where he helped raise in one night more than $800,000 for the College of Sciences Center for Active Computational Thinking. Jamie and his wife Kathleen, who are here with us today, generously support scholarships, undergraduate research, and a number of other university priorities. I know I speak for my father, my mother, and my sister when I say Bob Galvin would be immensely proud to recognize Jamie Cowie as this year's winner of the Galvin Award. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. It just goes to show that some of those early technical skills, typing, actually do pay off in life. Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you so much to the Alumni Association. I'm delighted. This is just a wonderful award, and I'm delighted to accept it on behalf of all of us in the community who, as you guys know in this room, have not attended IIT. And it's a terrific community, a community that's terribly important to the health of the university day in and day out. I'm particularly honored to accept this award this award that's in the name of Bob Galvin. Bob, of course, set the pace for all of us in terms of leadership and philanthropy and business, and his devotion, as you heard from Alan, to the university and commitment to the university was just unparalleled. And of course, the signature example being that wonderful gift that he and Bob Pritzker made, nearly just over 20 years ago to provide the future for the university. And when I think about the university, and when I think of my own activities at the university, it's that gift, which we often call transformational, which I think about. And I think about the word transformation, whether it's the way that this university welcomes and is a leader in the country in educating first-generation students and truly transforming their lives, whether it's the transformation that we've made internally here in terms of new programs and growth, and I particularly have enjoyed working at the College of Science and partnering with Russell Betts in growing that college, and particularly Russell's leadership in the computer science area, or whether it's transformation, of course, all across the campus. The buildings, starting with the Campus Center years ago, and now, as Alan referred to, this terrific Ed Kaplan Institute with Ed and his family's very, very generous leadership. And of course, now we're just couldn't be happier to have Howard on board as executive director. So thank you again. I'm truly honored to accept this award, and I'm privileged to be a part of this community with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back with the Alumni Awards after lunch. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch and having time to visit. So we're going to get started with our Alumni Awards. Please forgive my use of extensive notes here because my job is to tell you the wonderful color commentary. I've got fabulous stories to tell you about each of them, and we will move along quickly. And you can follow along in your program book that was at your seat. President Cram and Don Schutte will present the awards. And our alumni will be escorted to the stage by our student leaders, Pranay Roy and Shiva Chowdhury. Each year, the recipient of just 2 awards are invited to share their remarks with us as they accept their awards. We've already heard from the Galvin Award recipient, and shortly we will hear from the Alumni Medal recipient. And so today we will start with the Alumni Medal. This is the highest honor given by the Alumni Association. As you can see in the back of your program book, this award has a very illustrious list of recipients. We think of these recipients as those who exhibit the combined qualities of the Alumni Service Award, the Collins Merit Award, and the Professional Achievement Award, all rolled into one. The names of the Alumni Medal recipients are commemorated on a permanent plaque just outside the door of this ballroom. This year's medal recipient is Victor Morgenstern, a 1964 chemical engineering graduate who we obviously think exhibits the traits of all of those awards because indeed he's received some of them. In 2003, he received the Merit Award, and in 2013, the Alumni Service Award. So this is a capstone award in many ways for Vic. He's been a member of the Board of Trustees since 1994 and has served on a number of advisory boards and selection committees for the university. He also devotes himself to many of our college-specific initiatives. For the College of Architecture, Vic established the Morgenstern Family Visiting Chair, which allows our students to interact with and learn from world-renowned architects. Vic is also a past member of the boards of advisors of the College of Architecture and the Institute of Design. He and his wife, Faye, who's here with us today, are members of the Armor Society, which is a group of 97 families who are among our most generous benefactors. Vic says he feels a connection with IT and looks at his student experience as being the cornerstone of his development as a person and the root of his professional success. In 1976, Vic was founding principal of Harris Associates and served as its president, chief executive officer, and chairman. And then in 2002, he founded Valor Equity Partners, an investment firm focused on high-growth companies that was an early investor in both Tesla Motors and SpaceX. He was the principal and chairman of Valor until 2012 and currently serves as their senior advisor. He's also managing partner of Resolute Partners, a private family investment partnership. And one thing Vic is particularly good at is keeping friendships alive, as evidenced by his longtime relationship with fellow trustee and 1965 mechanical engineering alum Ed Kaplan. Ed won this award in 2001 and is back to celebrate with his friend. Vic and Ed were roommates, good friends in college, and they've grown even closer over the years as their families have been together. Ed and his wife Carol, who's also with us today, met in grade school, and they had another friend named Faye, who would then marry Vic. Years later, Vic is a generous supporter of a building that bears Ed's name on the campus where they met. And the Ed Kaplan Family Institute for Innovation and Tech Entrepreneurship will open this fall, and Vic will be a founding member of its board of advisors. But there's more. Vic brought his entire family along to Illinois Tech, with his 3 adult children being involved in the university. Jennifer and Robin, his daughters who are here, are members of the College of Architecture board. And Vic encouraged his son Judd, who is here, to come to school. And Judd got a MDS MBA in 2010 through a joint program between the Institute of Design and the Stewart School of Business. In fact, it was Judd who wrote the letter in support of his father's nomination for this award. And Judd wrote, quote, "At home above his personal desk, there's a wooden gavel with a metal plaque that reads Victor Morgenstern, IT Man of the Year, 1964. Knowing how much that award means to him, I can assuredly say receiving the Alumni Medal would be a tremendous honor." Vic, we've got another award to fit on that desk. And you know I love to say that you are our Man of the Year, even 54 years later. Come forward. That's...
You put it up after all. Well, thank you, Betsy. When I was told I was going to receive this award, I was told they were going to use two pictures. One was going to be a current picture, which you see on the poster. The other was going to be from my student days. And I remembered standing at a podium, and I suggested that picture. I didn't know that it was going to be used today because I thought it was going to be in the book. And the immediate thought that I had was, you know, I'm a kid from the Bronx, and one of my heroes in those days was Yogi Berra. And I said, well, this is like deja vu all over again, me standing at a podium for IIT. The other thing that struck me as you were talking about my family was when I was an undergrad here, when people talked about MIT, they would say, oh, MIT, that's the IIT of the East Coast. Okay? Now MIT means to me, MIT is Morgan Stearns at Illinois Tech. And so I really appreciate the fact. I really appreciate the fact that my family, you know, caught some of the enthusiasm that I have for the school and the stimulation and all the wonderful friendships. Before I begin my remarks, though, I want to acknowledge the fact that we have a table there of Navy cadets, and you're not going to hear anything about it in my speech for various reasons which they know. But I want to acknowledge the fact that ever since I was here, that was 1960, IIT has had Navy, Air Force, and now I'm told some Army people that train here. These students not only are great individuals and you know, serve our country, but are among some of the best leaders that IIT offers out to the world. So congratulations and thank you guys for your service. I also threw Betsy a little bit of a curveball because ordinarily the alumni medal would be given at the end of the program. And I said to Betsy, I really want to go right after people who have had dessert or are eating desserts. I want you to have a sweet experience when you hear some of the things I have to say. My remarks are going to be mostly focused on my life here as an undergraduate because I really believe that was the quintessential experience for me and what enabled me to acquire the skill sets and the skills that wound up having a very successful career, even though it had nothing to do with chemical engineering. And again, as Betsy said, excuse me, but this is a little bit of an emotional experience for me. After all, it's only been 58 years since I've been at this, and so I'm going to take the liberty to do some reading. It's a tremendous honor for me to receive this recognition from an institution that has been such an impactful and important part of my life. When I was notified of this honor, it was suggested that I could have 2 to 3 minutes to reflect on my experiences. How do you reflect on a 30-year relationship over a 58-year period in 2 or 3 minutes? It's impossible. So I told Betsy to fit me in now at dessert, so at least if I ramble, you'll have a good experience. It wasn't the knowledge I obtained while receiving my chemical engineering degree, but the tremendous personal growth, life skills, and confidence to succeed that I experienced through the personal relationships and friends that I made on campus, both as an undergraduate and then 25 years later as a trustee of the university. As a first-generation kid from New York City, IIT and Illinois Tech met all 3 of my criteria at the time for choosing a school. Number 1, it had a strong engineering program. Now, the anecdote here is that in the 1960s, we were still in the Cold War with the Russians. And if you were good at math and science in high school, you were immediately directed to become an engineer. And so the choice of my degree was more a patriotic move, I think, than anything else, because I didn't know what engineering was, and I didn't know what a chemical engineering was. But I was about to become one. So the three things that were important to me when I was choosing a school was, number one, a strong engineering program, the use of my Navy scholarship. The Navy had awarded me a 4-year full tuition scholarship. And three, the school was west of the Hudson River. I had never been west of the Hudson River. One of my wife's favorite sayings is that often people make the right decision for the wrong reasons. And I think, my wife is sitting there, and she's looking at me and saying, now, where is he going to go with this? After my first semester, I was convinced I made the wrong decision for the right reasons. During that first year, not only did I experience what I considered to be a harsh environment, in the summer, the stench from the stockyards was unbearable. We'd wear bandanas over our face, to cover the smell. In the winter, the winds that blew through campus was equally unbearable. And we were living on a campus that was in a very challenged neighborhood, to say the least. We were warned not to walk off campus. And in fact, as a freshman year, I did, and unfortunately, 25 of us got jumped all at once, if you can imagine that. In retrospect, besides the harsh environment that we experienced, there were also other shortcomings that I experienced when I first came to campus. In retrospect, it was those shortcomings that created the opportunities for the tremendous personal growth and life skills that I needed to become a happy and successful person and obtain a noteworthy career. So what were some of these shortcomings? Number one, here I got on the train in New York, came to campus, and took a cab down to campus. IIT was a commuter campus in those days. There were few dorms, very few out-of-towners, and what that meant was on weekends the campus was absolutely deserted. What did this mean to me? Well, here are some of the positive things that came out of that. My response was, number one, join a fraternity. In those days, you couldn't join a fraternity your first semester, so that was probably my worst semester on campus. But in the second semester, I joined a fraternity, and in those days, the interesting thing was joining a fraternity was all about the academics. The fraternities would recruit you based on the GPAs that their house had. And as it turned out, later on, this was a big benefit to me because I relied heavily on guys like Ed Kaplan and Mike Freitas, who were sitting there, and many others who weren't even in a fraternity to help me through what was a very rigorous program. Number two, it got me off campus to learn about the city of Chicago. I didn't know anything about Chicago, and I learned that when I first came here, I would say, well, Chicago has all the disadvantages of a big city and none of the advantages of New York. By my junior year, it was completely reversed. It has all the advantages of a big city and none of the disadvantages of New York. I learned to love jazz, something that Ed and I share, but I think he's a little more active than I am in pursuing this. I also got involved in student government. One of the things that I didn't understand is why we didn't have more campus life and more campus facilities. It was easy for me to get involved in student government because nobody else wanted to do it. Besides that, I was very distinctive. I had a New York accent. Where do you park the car? And it turned out I was able to be successful. The inadvertent consequences of this is, besides the very close personal relationships with the students, I got to know the administration much, much better than I would have if I was just a student here. In 1960, when I came here, John Ritagliato was the president of the student body, and he was a very quiet individual, but in several meetings that I had with him, I got to learn a lot about him that many years later I would remember and kind of affected some of the things I did. John was one of the first civilians to ride in a jet aircraft. He was also one of the first, or the first appointee by Dwight Eisenhower to serve on the National Aeronautics and Space Council, which was a precursor to what today is NASA. The reason I mention this is because if you fast forward 50 years from those meetings with John Ritagliato, I had the opportunity to meet Elon Musk and listen to Elon tell me about his vision of the mission to Mars, and wound up being an early investor in SpaceX, which has turned out so far to be very, very interesting and fruitful. So what was another shortcoming? that wound up being a real benefit and plus to me. No athletic program, very, very minimal athletic program on campus. The upside for me was, I mean, I played high school tennis, but my high school tennis coach, as Mike Freitas was telling me his experience was similar, didn't know how to coach tennis. So I had very modest tennis skills. But at IIT, those modest tennis skills put me on the varsity immediately. And on the varsity, it was all those good experiences with the camaraderie of the other players, learning how to compete and travel off campus. It was a very positive experience. The third and probably the most important shortcoming that I saw at the time, no co-eds. IIT was mostly a male campus. The very few co-eds we had basically had lived in Chicago. On the weekends, there were basically no girls on campus. What did this mean? This meant that I had to rely on my fraternity brothers to introduce me to girls, perhaps double date, and if the date happened to be off campus, it was utilize them to drive my car. Well, that fortuitous situation got me to meet my wife, Faye, who at the time was a student here at another university. And since that was the singular most important person in my life, and my wife of 53 years now, I'd say that was the most remarkable and positive experience I could have had at IIT. Faye? And it goes without saying, because of Faye, I have three beautiful children who are now part of Morgenstern's at Illinois Tech. So all these perceived shortcomings wound up stimulating very positive experiences, where I can now look back at the fact that my right decision came for very, very unexpected right reasons. The good news today is many of these shortcomings are significantly cured. We now have students from, probably over 40 states, 20 countries, fully almost a third of the undergraduate population are women, and I think almost 40% of the graduate population are women. And by just walking around campus, you can see that the school has really advanced a lot. Also importantly, the lack of athletics has been totally cured, and now we're about to become a powerhouse in the NCAA Division III and field 16 varsity teams. Quite an accomplishment. Fast forward 25 years from my graduation, and I had the opportunity to become a trustee, and I found that extremely rewarding. To meet accomplished professionals, people who, perhaps weren't IIT grads. I mean, one of the fortunate things, and I congratulate Jamie Cower on his award, was the fact that IIT, through its mission and its situation here in Chicago, has really been able to attract, outstanding people to become trustees and serve on all our committees. And by the way, has also allowed us to attract outstanding administrators. I mean, Alan is the third president that I've had the pleasure to work with since I became a trustee, and people like Lou Collins and John Anderson, clearly were good friends and people that I looked up to. Not to be missed is the fun things that you can do when you're a trustee too. Serving on the Board of Advisors for the School of Architecture and the Institute of Design has just been a pleasure. I really enjoy coming back to campus, hearing some of the lectures, and that's only going to get better. Everybody's talked about the new Kaplan Family Innovation Center, and that's really going to turbocharge all the good things that are happening here on campus. The common theme of me serving as a trustee really has been, how can the school enhance the experience of particularly the undergraduate population? Create happy students that are very bright to begin with, and they're going to become leaders that can really affect our quality of life. So once again, I'd like to thank you very much for this recognition and enjoy the rest of the presentation. I'd like to congratulate also the other winners now that are going to be introduced because they're all really remarkable people. Thank you. Those were just a few of the notes that I had to give.
I think we need a T-shirt that says Morgenstern's at Illinois Tech to think of a holiday. We're good? We're good. Thank you, Vic. Up next, we have the Outstanding Young Alumnus Awards given to alumni who are 40 years old or younger and who have demonstrated leadership and success in their careers. We usually present this award to 2 recipients each year, but we had so many excellent candidates the committee couldn't decide, so they chose 3. Our first launched her career as an architect when alumnus Ed Windhorst, who is here with us today, wrote the College of Architecture faculty and asked them to send him, quote, quite simply the outstanding graduate from that year's master's degree candidates. Without hesitation, the faculty sent Rebecca Bookmeyer, and she became the first hire at Windhorst Gorski Architects. Rebecca had developed into what Windhorst describes as, quote, obviously future partner material, when unfortunately in 2008, the recession forced the firm to close. Rebecca then joined a series of major firms, including VOA, Chipman, and now DLR Group, where she was able to make a major impact on Chicago's skyline before the age of 39. Chicago buildings that Rebecca has worked on include the Roosevelt University Tower on Michigan Avenue and the Hyatt Place Hotel at 28 North Franklin, a notoriously difficult site of only 90 feet by 90 feet that many companies had tried and failed to develop. Currently, she is a project manager for the new Marriott Moxie Hotel in the heart of Portland, Oregon. She is also partnering with the National Park Service to restore and convert a historic bank in Des Moines, Iowa, into a boutique hotel. Rebecca has a passion for historic preservation and is a member of Chicago's Pullman Civic Organization, where for the past 4 years, she led the organization's Beeman Committee. In this role, she managed the creation of a website that allows Pullman residents to look up the original facade of their homes in order to restore them to their historic grandeur. Rebecca has also purchased 3 buildings in the historic Pullman neighborhood, one of which she lived in but recently sold. Rebecca aspired to be an architect from an early age, and she tells us that her father's tragic death from cancer when she was 15 drove her to make him proud. Growing up in the Chicago area, it was her lifelong dream to attend Illinois Institute of Technology. But she was not accepted into the College of Architecture's undergraduate program. It was only once she excelled as an interior designer, working side by side with architects, that she realized she was good enough for her intended profession. Rebecca praises her husband, Ryan, who is here, a successful general contractor, for supporting her heavy involvement with Pullman, her decision to switch career paths, and their shared responsibility for the awesome 2-year-old son, Bjorn. It's no surprise that Ryan is here today to support her. The couple met at the Harrington Institute of Interior Design, where Rebecca graduated first in her class. Windhorst, now her longtime mentor, says of Rebecca, her portfolio is the best indication of her professional skills and successes, which in conjunction with her absolute integrity, honesty, and charm will ultimately distinguish her as one of IIT's most impressive architecture graduates. Congratulations, Rebecca. Our next Outstanding Young Alumnus Award winner builds business relationships rather than buildings. Mark Haraberta earned his BS in Financial Markets in 2004. I just said BS, that's a mistake. Earned his MS in Financial Markets in 2004. In his 9 years working as a managing director of BarChart, a financial data and technology startup, Mark oversaw the rapid growth of the company's business, more than doubling its employee base to 50. Now, remember that 50 number. BarChart now competes head-to-head for market share with Thomson Reuters, which has 45,000 employees, and Bloomberg, which has 19,000. In 2016, Mark's savvy leadership of BarChart's sales and innovative products landed him a promotion to CEO at the age of 38. A year before that, inspired by Chicago's growing fintech scene, Mark founded the FinTech Exchange Chicago Conference, which draws 500 financial technology professionals from around the world annually. Growing up in the near south suburbs of Thornton and South Holland, Mark was inspired to work hard by his mother, Linda, who's here, a personal banker and loan officer who raised 3 children on her own. Although Mark dreamed of majoring in journalism, it was his brother, Matthew, who today is president of XR Trading, who urged him to choose finance. Mark heeded his advice and was soon launching his career at the Chicago Board of Trade during a time of profound technological change for the finance industry. And it was the Board of Trade colleagues who convinced Mark to enter the Master of Financial Markets program at Illinois Tech's Stewart School of Business. Mark relished the international culture of the program, as well as its rigorous industry-relevant courses. In particular, he loved quantitative methods, which he took with Professor Michael Matika and describes as the hardest course of his academic career. But he still meets with Professor Ben Van Vliet, who's here with us today, and has hired several Stewart School graduates at Barchart. When he's not driving Barchart toward the next stage of growth, Mark is spending time with his wife, Katie, and their 2 sons, Thomas and Andrew, all of whom are with us today. He and Katie, who is described as a math teacher turned community volunteer and stay-at-home mom, are teaching Thomas, age 9, and Andrew, age 7, how to manage their own stock accounts. Mark got the idea while observing his eldest Thomas enjoying a Coca-Cola as a treat. So far, his sons have bought stock in Coca-Cola and Twitter because they like their products, but also General Electric because Dad advised them that they should also buy stock from a company that's been around for a long time and pays dividends. Mark says he didn't buy his first stock till he was 21, but he thinks it's never too early to teach kids how to invest. After receiving his master's degree, Mark spent a year at Chicago Board Options Exchange before joining Barchart, and he admits he took a risk by leaving to join a relatively unknown startup. Some people were skeptical of my decision, he says, but I wasn't. I like to work really hard, and I'm determined. I found a place where those qualities would make a difference. Mark, you have made a difference. Congratulations. Come forward. Our third and final Outstanding Young Alumnus Award winner created quite a stir with his Illinois Tech doctoral dissertation. Mayank Kashyap solved a problem with fluidization that had been plaguing chemical engineers for 50 years. He discovered that in fluidized beds, which are special environments where environmental conditions allow solids to act like liquids, fine particles form clusters. He also found that in the clustering of fine particles, that if the clustering of fine particles is reduced, the fluidization process improves significantly. With that breakthrough, he was then able to discover how to derive more gasoline from crude oil. As you can imagine, Mayank drew a lot of attention for this work, winning the George Klinzing Best PhD Award in Particle Technology from the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. The company Ascend Performance Materials snatched him off the job market, soon gave him 3 company awards for helping Ascend to derive more of their signature chemical, give me a minute, journalism major, acrylonitrile, close, from propylene to the tune of $8.5 million in annual savings. Mayank then became the youngest lead scientist at Saudi Basic Industries Corporation, also known as civic, where he developed fluidization plants with the potential for $60 million in yearly savings. This earned him 2 more company awards, as well as a promotion to staff scientist. Mayank is also passionate about educating the next generation of engineers, and among his many service appointments, he is student workshop chairman for the American Institute of Chemical Engineers Particle Technology Forum. He is known for his traveling fluidization demonstration, which he gives to standing room only crowds of engineering students. His live demonstrations energize students who often do not know anything about careers in particle technology and fluidization until they meet him. You will not be surprised to hear that he keeps his portable miniature FCC fluidized bed reactor set up in his garage so he can tinker on it between workshops and improve his presentation. Mayank is also fortunate to have an Illinois Tech love story. He met his wife, Teresita, a fellow chemical engineering PhD from the class of 2011, in the Galvin Library while trying to form a study group. His wife is here with us today, and she is now an associate research engineer for Dow Chemical in Houston. Mayank grew up in New Delhi, India, and earned his undergraduate degree in chemical engineering from Punjab University, where his IT connections originated. While at Punjab, he discovered that his department had been created by an American named Richard Peck. Some of you know that name. Peck had been the chair of chemical engineering at Illinois Tech. But wait, there's more. While interning with Indian energy company Reliance Industries, he learned that the leading expert on fluidized bed reactors he worked on was IT professor Dimitri Gittesbau, who is here with us today. When Mayank arrived at Illinois Tech, he became Gittesbau's final PhD student. Ready for this? The two of them are teaching a course this Sunday at the 8th World Congress on Particle Technology in Orlando, Florida. So along with your award today, for you and Professor Gittesbau, who you describe as your inspiration, we thought we had to send you to the conference with matching Illinois Tech t-shirts. Please come forth and receive your award. Our next award goes to a graduate of Illinois Tech who excelled in both leadership and performance as a student athlete and who went on to achieve significant success after graduation. This award is called the John J. Schomer Honor I Award. John Schomer was an Illinois Tech graduate from the class of 1912, a beloved coach, chemistry professor, and our first athletic director. In 1967, the Schomer Honor I Award was created for alumni, and it was given annually until 1995. In 2015, we brought it back into the mix after a 20-year hiatus. Today, I'm honored to present this historic award to Mike McCullough, who earned his BS in metallurgy in 1991 and MS in metallurgical and materials engineering in 1993. In October of 2017, Mike was appointed Global Chief Engineer for Manufacturing System and Infrastructure at Ford Motor Company. Upon joining Ford in 1993, right after graduation, Mike was quickly selected to join its prestigious 4-year manufacturing leadership program. He then held a series of management positions overseeing the $1.6 billion overhaul of 4 different plants to introduce Ford's EcoBoost engine in 2006. He also helped Ford's Van Dyke plant increase production from 800,000 units to 1.8 million units per year. He even found a way to use an abandoned quarry as a natural, inexpensive cooling system for Ford's Lima plant. At Illinois Tech, Mike was not only a top student and a 3-sport athlete, but also University Athlete of the Year in 1991. In his first year, he was the only walk-on to make the varsity men's basketball team, and he won an award that we'll have to hear about called the Charlie Hustle Award. In his second year, Coach Dennis Matouche recruited Mike from basketball to swimming, and Mike went on to qualify for the national championships for 4 years in a row and was named an All-American swimmer 3 times. But don't forget about that third sport. He also served as first-ranked singles and doubles tennis player, following Vic Morgenstern, for all 4 years of his undergraduate degree, and then he coached the tennis team for an additional 2 years as a graduate student. In addition, Mike was able to translate his athletic prowess to a student internship with Wilson Sporting Goods, where this metallurgist personally tested the cutting-edge Wilson Hammer tennis racket model. He was also allowed to design his own rackets using his finest materials, and he still uses those today. Mike is joined today by his wife Debbie and their 4 children. In his spare time, he currently is rereading literary classics assigned at school to his teenage children. He shares that his college Shakespeare class at Illinois Tech made him a lifelong reader. He was nominated, and hold the raucous guys, he was nominated by his fraternity brothers and teammates, Brian Ippolito and Matt Fernandez, who are here today. They tell us Mike has always strived to achieve the most he could, while also being very conscious of helping others to achieve their best. Mike tells us he's very proud of his friend base, and there's a lot of them here today, about 35 of them, So while Mike comes forth, make some noise, guys, make some noise. Mike is not the first of his friend group to get an award, and we love these guys coming back, most importantly because they bring their kids who are all going to enroll in Illinois Tech in the future. Thank you all for being here. Our next award category is the Professional Achievement Award, which honors alumni whose achievements in their fields have brought distinction to themselves as well as credit to Illinois Tech. This is the category that always gives our judges a challenge because we have so many extraordinary nominees. And this year, our awards committee selected 2 winners. The first is Charlie Carter, who received his doctorate in civil engineering in 2009, a credential that enabled him to become the first person in the 100-year history of the American Institute of Steel Construction to be promoted internally to president. The American Institute of Steel Construction, or AISC, was formed in 1921 and sets the standards by which all steel buildings in the United States are designed and constructed. Charlie joined the AISC as a staff engineer shortly after completing his master's degree and began working with seasoned engineers, construction experts, and academics across the country. Now serving in his second year as president, Charlie has been instrumental in growing AISC's membership. In 1991, the Institute had just 1,500 members, but Charlie saw the tremendous opportunity of the internet and initiated movement of AISC's millions of pages of educational documents online, which has helped grow the organization to more than 30,000 members today. Charlie also managed creation of important industry guides, including a unified steel manual covering both allowable stress design and load and resistance factor design, and the AISC Code of Standard Practice. Charlie is currently co-writing a reference book on steel construction with his former Illinois Tech dissertation advisor, Professor J. Shen, who says, quote, Charlie's high standards on everything he does has significantly influenced his fellow research students. He is a highly respected national leader in steel construction. Ironically, Charlie almost didn't end up as an engineer. The son of 2 teachers, growing up, he was not a stellar student, but he liked math and design. He thought he might be an architect, but his architect uncle steered him toward engineering school instead, and that transformed him academically. Later, as a PhD student at Illinois Tech, Charlie used his dissertation research to inform the creation of AISC's first seismic design manual. Charlie met his wife, Irady, at the AISC. She led the publishing division, while he led writing and design, and the 2 of them rode the train to and from the suburbs together. They've raised her daughter, Jamie, in a 1921 Downers Grove home that, of course, they gutted and renovated with a whole new steel skeleton. Congratulations, Charlie. And now for our next winner. In 2010, British Petroleum, also known as BP, had a microscopy workshop at its facility in Sunbury in the United Kingdom, and they invited Nestor Saluzek to attend. Dr. Matthew Kulzik of BP remembers fondly a story about one of the other doctors who was attending the event on her first day with the company. When she was told that Nestor would be attending, her reaction was as though he was an actual rock star. She exclaimed, Nestor Saluzek, he's famous. Nestor then arrived at BP workshop and helped the team become the first group of people in history to measure emitted X-rays from both gaseous and liquid materials with an electron microscope. He did this by redesigning the spectrum holder of the Microsoft on the spot. This technological advancement is now used all over the world. In a nomination letter, Dr. Kulzik tells us that Nestor is a 2-time winner of the R&D 100 Award, which I'm told is widely considered, quote, the Oscars of innovation. He's also a member of the United States TEAM team project that created the aberration-corrected microscope, a microscope that can imagine particles as small as 1/2 angstrom, or 1/10 billionth of a meter. Nestor is internationally known as one of the outstanding microscopists of his generation. Nestor began his career at Oak Ridge National Laboratory on a prestigious Eugene Wigner Fellowship, but then quickly moved to Argonne National Laboratory, where he remains today. While at Argonne, Nestor became one of the first scientists to enable remote control of electron imaging instruments. A little recognized outcome of these early efforts took place in 1998. You may remember hearing the stories that made a lot of national news. Nestor facilitated a pathology exam for physician Jerry Nielsen. You might remember that Nielsen had discovered a lump in her breast while she was stationed at a research center in Antarctica during the southern winter when she could not be evacuated. Nestor worked out a simplified version for a telepresence microscopy system, and the necessary equipment was dropped from an altitude of 700 feet by an Air Force jet after a 6,000-mile flight. Then station personnel transmitted images via the internet to a pathologist in the United States, ultimately allowing Dr. Nielsen to begin chemotherapy on herself while she was still stranded. Nestor is the child of working-class Ukrainian immigrants and grew up in the St. Basil parish on the south side of Chicago. He commuted to Illinois Tech and worked his way through school at Sherwin-Williams Research Center. He and his fellow commuters tell us that they spent a great deal of time in this building and managed to upstage the resident students one year by getting several of their members elected to the homecoming court. Homecoming court? After graduating from Illinois Tech, Nestor applied and was accepted to a number of highly ranked doctoral programs in physics, but he tells us he applied so late in the year that he couldn't get financial aid. Finally, he received a letter from the University of Illinois offering to fund him through a different department, metallurgy. Nestor, the physicist, tells us that he had never heard of metallurgy, but he joined the department anyway and went on to create seminal techniques for analyzing X-rays emitted by specimens in electron microscopes. Nestor's wife is a nurse practitioner who just completed her PhD, and the couple has 5 adult children. Nestor is also an adjunct professor at several Illinois universities, including, at one point, Illinois Tech, and he is also an honorary lifetime member of the Illinois Junior Academy of Sciences. Please congratulate Nestor. If you didn't hear, he said he wore this every day on campus. That's fabulous. Thank you, Nestor. Up next are the Lifetime Achievement Awards bestowed posthumously on individuals who have achieved personal success, made an outstanding contribution to their chosen fields, and achieved recognition from their colleagues. This year we remember 2 extraordinary alumni. First up is a triple alumnus who earned his BS, MS, and PhD in physics, Robert Pete Bragg. I bet you're wondering how you get Pete from Robert. As a child, Robert loved the comic book character Rawhide Pete, which papered the walls of his boyhood bedroom and helped him learn to read at the age of 4. His family and friends began calling him Pete, and the name just stuck after his long interest in the cartoon had faded. Pete came to Chicago in 1933 at barely 14 years old to live with his Aunt Edna and Uncle Teddy. He attended Tilden Technical High School because he wanted to be a master plumber just like his uncle. He had lots of when I grow up dreams. He also wanted to be a tap dancer and a writer. He loved to write fiction, memoirs, and even murder mysteries. Growing up in Chicago, Pete saw a life he didn't know existed before leaving his Jacksonville, Florida home. He was exposed to African-American organizations such as the NAACP and UNIA, which he was unaware of before moving to the city. This unlocked a lifelong passion for him, and in 1969, he became professor of material science and mineral engineering at the University of California, Berkeley, where he pioneered efforts to pave the way for minorities. Pete was on the policy advisory board of the Black Studies program and managed the Chancellor's Fellowship Program, which supported minority faculty. He sponsored Berkeley's first Black Engineering and Science Students Association and was involved in the Northern California Council of Black Professional Engineers. Pete also had a deep interest in family research and genealogy, and he considered it his quest to trace his own lineage. He was able to chart his family history to Africa, and he spent countless hours researching and chronicling his descendants with the help of his mighty assistant, his niece Danita, who is here with us today. Pete even traveled the globe to investigate his findings. He visited Ghana, Senegal, and Gorée Islands in his mission to leave a legacy for his family. Pete died in 2017 at the age of 98. One thing he was known for during his lifetime was his famous sayings. And forgive me, I don't know the voice to do this right, but his family tells us he had great catchphrases like chugging along, over and out, and be cool. He always used to say that he wanted to be remembered as a nice guy who tried to be helpful, and that's exactly how we will remember him. Very pleased to present this awards to Pete's nephew, McFarland Bragg II, and his cousin, Kira Jackson. But I also want you to know that Pete's brother, McFarland, who just turned 94 this month, is also with us today from Arizona. He's over there. McFarland there, with your arms up. Thank you. Please welcome McFarland Bragg II and Kira Jackson. Thank you. Our second Lifetime Achievement Award winner is Vice Admiral Diego Hernandez, who earned his bachelor's degree in psychology in 1955. Vice Admiral Hernandez grew up in San Juan, Puerto Rico, where both his parents were school teachers. As a child, his mother took him to see a fortune teller who told them she saw a future involving the sea and airplanes, and she could not have been more right. His dream was to apply for the Naval Academy, but when the time came, a sudden attack of appendicitis caused Hernandez to miss the application deadline. Not one to be deterred from his destiny, he applied to Illinois Tech and attended the university on an ROTC scholarship. We were told he loved it here, but poor Hernandez did not realize the wrath of Chicago's winters and said he always froze to death because he didn't realize just how warm a coat he needed. The psychology degree he earned at Illinois Tech proved valuable to him in his naval career, which spanned from 1955 to 1991. He became a naval aviator, piloted fighter jets, leading 147 combat missions in Vietnam. He was shot down twice in the space of 5 months. In 1980, he became the first Hispanic to serve as commanding officer of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, the USS John F. Kennedy, and went on to become the highest-ranking Hispanic in the military. Pretty cool. Before his retirement in 1991, he was named commander of the U.S. Naval Forces Caribbean and commander of the U.S. Third Fleet. His final military assignment brought him to the U.S. Space Command and North American Aerospace Defense Command, better known as NORAD. When he died last year at the age of 83, Vice Admiral Hernandez was interred with full honors in Arlington National Cemetery. The ceremony, complete with a 21-gun salute, featured a flyover from 4 F-18 fighter jets, which caused the runways to be shut down at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. His wife of 33 years, Cheryl, tells us that Hernandez always wanted to be cremated, but he changed his mind a week before he passed. He asked his close friend, Admiral Thomas Hayward, former head of the U.S. Navy, if he could find him a place in the shade at Arlington. And Admiral Hayward replied, "I don't know if I can find you a place in the shade, but I can sure as hell plant you a tree." But Cheryl tells us that in the end, they did indeed find a nice place in the shade. Cheryl, please come up and accept this award. Thank you. Before we continue with the rest of our awards, we have a special announcement from President Cram.
So we've just heard about these two absolutely extraordinary alumni. And I want to mention another one who's an extraordinary alumni, and that's Frank Crosley. Frank won the Alumni Medal in 2009. He was a BS in Chemical Engineering, PhD in Metallurgy, in 1950 with Illinois Tech. He also was a Navy officer, and he was the first person to earn a PhD in Metallurgical Engineering at Illinois Tech. I think if you look at these three wonderful alumni, you should realize these are the best of the best. And because of that, we're going to put all three into our Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Hall of Fame is in the rafters way above Alumni Award. That is an extraordinary honor to the families. Thank you, Alan. And now we will move on to the International Award of Merit, given to alumni whose achievements have strengthened Illinois Tech's reputation on an international scale. And this year, the International Award of Merit goes to Victor Tsao, who unfortunately could not be with us today. Victor came to Illinois Tech from Taiwan for his computer science master's degree, which he earned in 1980. He went on to found the company Linksys. You might be familiar with that one, which launched the revolution in home and small business networking by making new networking technologies affordable to the masses. And he did all of that from his garage in Northern California. After Victor and his wife Janie sold the company to Cisco, they continued their careers with Linksys for 4 more years. And then they founded Miven Partners and began investing in startups from countries around the world, including companies in Silicon Valley, Israel, and China. In addition, they created the Tsao Family Foundation, which focuses on improving the quality of education of high school and elementary students in rural China. The Tsaos also work with hospitals in California to fund research for Parkinson's disease, which afflicted Janie's mother. Victor is a member of our College of Science Board of Advisors, as well as the Department of Computer Science Advisory Board. Please join me in congratulating Victor, and we look forward to presenting his award at a future date. Next, we have the Alumni Service Award, which honors alumni who demonstrate commitment to and great enthusiasm for Illinois Tech through their involvement in varied areas of the university. And our 2018 recipient is the definition of that, and that's Michael Hill. Michael was born and raised in Chicago. He studied computer science as an undergrad in the early 1980s and remembers IIT as, quote, always being around when he was a kid. He tells us his mother, who's here with us today, was a big White Sox fan, and they used to park on campus before games. He remembers a big dish radar antenna that sat on top of Siegel Hall, pointed to the sky, and that was his landmark to know that he was getting close to the ballpark. Michael tells us he was and continues to be a real science nerd. He read a lot of science fiction and comic books as a child, and he loved Star Trek. Although he studied computer science, his career has led him down an engineering path, a subject he was introduced to long ago through a children's book about a Midwestern boy who won a spacesuit in a contest. Yes, you bet, young Michael really wanted to have his own spacesuit, and he tells us he wouldn't mind having one now. But until he gets that spacesuit, Michael has dedicated himself to Illinois Tech. He has worked tirelessly to reconnect alumni with IIT and was one of the driving forces behind the creation of the African American Alumni Association, which we refer to as 4A. Under his leadership, the group organized a tribute event for Nate Thomas, an Illinois Tech administrator whose early identification program several decades ago resulted in a dramatic increase in the number of African American students on campus. This event was one of the largest alumni events in the university's recent history and helped us bring about the creation of the Nate Thomas Legacy Scholarship in Nate's honor. And we're so thrilled that Nate is here with us today to celebrate Michael. Michael has committed himself to strengthening the university's alumni network, personally reaching out to hundreds of alumni to help them reconnect to their alma mater. Looking forward, he has also made it a mission to ensure a bright future for Illinois Tech students by organizing mentor programs, assisting with internship opportunities, and providing employment support. He even helped spread the word about Illinois Tech to high school students through his work as an admission ambassador. Michael's friend, Andrea Berry, a trustee who's the chair of our Alumni Association board and computer science alum from the class of '84, helped nominate Michael for this award. And in her letter of support, she said, quote, "Michael has proven repeatedly that he is a true, enthusiastic leader who's committed to serving IT, and we can all learn from his tenacity as a selfless leader." Michael does have a huge crowd of supporters to cheer him on. Let's hear it from Michael. Come forward, please. Our final award today is the Collins Merit Award, named for former university president Lou Collins. This award honors alumni for their outstanding commitment to the future of Illinois Tech through philanthropic contributions paired with involvement in university initiatives. Joel Krause, a member of the Board of Trustees who earned his math degree in 1971, is this year's recipient. Illinois Tech has been a part of Joel's life for a really long time. He grew up in Chicago, and his cousin Jeffrey is an Illinois Tech physics alum from the class of '64. Joel's family always told him that if he was really smart, as smart as Jeffrey, maybe he could go to IT. Although he got accepted and earned his degree, Joel tells us he suspected they lowered the curve the year he applied. Joel has used his math degree to build a successful career in consultation services. In 1985, he co-founded Omnitech Consulting Group, which he sold to Diamond Cluster International, a business strategy and technology-focused consulting firm, in 1999. And in 2005, Joel co-founded the Market Strategy Group, where he advised organizations and executives on initiatives focused on achieving profitable growth before he retired in 2017. His business partner and brother Michael is here to celebrate with Joel today. Growing up, Joel tells us his parents always valued education. He says his parents inspired him to get his degree, which then inspired his career. So in turn, he wanted to honor the support they gave him, so he established the Marvin and Elaine Krause Scholarship Fund for Illinois Tech's College of Science. Joel and his wife Sophia, who's here with us today, make an effort to get to know their scholars and learn about their plans for the future. Joel's involvement in the College of Science initiative goes further than student support. He also funds a computer science lecture series and a summer research program, in addition to his work as the College of Science's chair of its board of advisors. Joel co-chaired the university's recent $250 million Fueling Innovation campaign, which we successfully closed in 2016, thanks in good part to his leadership and guidance. He has helped continue the university's trajectory through his foundational support of the Ed Kaplan Family Institute for Innovation and Tech Entrepreneurship. When the Kaplan Institute opens this fall, Joel will have had an active role in its creation and will serve on its advisory board. Joel and his family are also members of the Armor Society, the 97 families who comprise our most generous benefactors. In his free time, Joel combines his love of cycling with his love of travel. He and Sophia enjoy long-distance biking, about 60 miles at a time, which he says takes them 14 to 15 hours. Each year, they do one big trip overseas and get in as much biking as possible. Joel tells us their favorite trip was to Italy, where they biked through Tuscan hill towns. He hopes to one day fulfill his dream of cycling across the entire U.S. Thank you for all you've done for Illinois Tech. Joel, come forward. Let's have another round of applause for all of our winners. Just a couple of final remarks before I let you go to explore our campus on this beautiful day. I want to thank the committee that does all the hard work of making the tough decisions on who should win. I want to thank the staff, as Dawn did before me, our team for putting this together, our leader on this, Kelly Fields, Becky Shearer, and Laura Fletcher, who wrote everything I just read to you, and Lauren Shelby, who made this event be fabulous. These events, we have to protect this. We don't have enough traditions at the school. This is a great tradition. I need your help. Nominations are due, you'll never forget it, on Halloween. Forget that trick-or-treating. Write your Illinois Tech Alumni Award nomination report. Look in our e-news and in the magazine. We'll send you reminders of this, but we really need your help. Right? Illinois Tech alums are way too modest. You don't brag about yourself sufficiently. We need to change that. We need the world to know about these amazing people like you've heard of today. So October 31st is your deadline. If you haven't been on campus for a while, I do encourage you to stay and take a look around. Stop a student, talk to them, ask them what campus is like. They'd love to hear from you. Winners, do not leave. We need a group photo up here. Everyone else, thank you so much for being with us, and have a great day.